Okay, so much to talk about when looking at the HDFC Q1 numbers that were out today. The bank performance literally smashed street estimates on every single line item. Now, specifically coming to the ET Now poll, we had an NII figure in mind to the tune of 15,300 crores. This has been exceeded and come in at 15,665 crores. So it's 5% higher than what the poll said. If you look at the profit level, 6,659 versus our poll of 6,400. So that again is a 5% beat on the profit level as well. Now, if you want to look at how these figures stacked up in the actuals, NII grew something like 19%, profit grew something like 20%. That's YoY. Now, if you want to look at things sequentially, to gauge the COVID impact for HDFC, there seems to be none whatsoever because advances have still managed to grow sequentially and on a YoY basis as well, like we already said. Deposits have also grown sequentially. NIMs have maintained themselves at 4.3 as opposed to polls which indicated 4.2. So there doesn't really seem to be too much of a sequential hit over here for HDFC Bank. The profit level has maintained its further PBT. So we're talking about before tax. Some people are saying the profit was improved because of the lower tax rate. So I'm saying let's look at it before the tax rate. PBT is grown by 5%. So even if you minimize the tax impact, you have decent growth from them. Gross NPAs and net NPAs were the only dampeners, which saw slight upticks. Your gross NPA came in at 1.36 versus 1.26. And then the absolute was 13,773 versus 12,650. So you've seen a 1,200 crore sort of uptick in the gross NPAs. Now, the moratorium figure wasn't disclosed in the results, and that got a lot of investors worried. They were like, why aren't they disclosing the moratorium figure? Well, just hours later, there was an AGM where Aditya Puri answered the question on everyone's mind that HDFC's moratorium customers as of the 30th of June 2020 stand at a minimalistic 9%. That's probably the lowest in the banking sector. So that just goes to show the quality of underwriting and the real customer quality and the borrower quality at HDFC Bank. So asset quality is something that people will focus on. We don't know what the total provisions HDFC Bank will have to take as a result of the pandemic. We can only assume the best. But what people will pay attention to is the fact that credit growth has kept up pace despite multiple challenges. All the branches were probably closed. There was definitely a period of dislocation of services. So all of that could have hit the revenues a lot worse than it actually ended up doing. So that's going to send some positive cues coming into Bank Nifty. Provisioning was higher and still your profits were higher. That's another positive cue I forgot to mention. Provisions stood close to 4,000 crores if you add up the contingency and floating provisions. This quarter alone, the contingency provision was around 1,000 crores. So you're looking at total provisioning now at 150% of gross non-performing loans. So that's fairly secure. So we saw what happened to Federal Bank and Bandhan Bank. Fairly good results. Federal really cheered, similar lines, improved credit growth and profitability. Bandhan took a bit of a hit on the profit, but the growth again was pretty solid. Now with HDFC coming in and showing you that the leading franchises are really not going to suffer, who knows, Bank Nifty may see a catch up to Nifty, something that everyone's been talking about, Bank Nifty underperforming. This might just be the trigger and might send positive cues ahead of now Axis, IndusInd, ICICI, Kotak, which will all soon be out with their numbers.